Hey guys, it's Riley, and this year was my very first work camp experience with First Trinity, and I had such an amazing time. Now, in the beginning, I was super nervous since I haven't seen my First Trinity family and friends in a while, but everybody turned out super sweet and nice. Now, this year we had an amazing resident named Audrey who needed her decks and ramps replaced in the front and back of her house. Now, we all finished it by Friday, but it got rough. Like, I had to carry buckets of gravel with mud on the bucket, like up a hill. Like, I never knew gravel would be that heavy. Yep. Now, it rained on Friday, so we were all really muddy, but I was definitely the muddiest, even though me and Brian compared ourselves, and he said he was the muddiest, but I definitely won that competition. But I saw so many God sightings that week. The first one was when Jennifer was struggling with her screwdriver, and Zach and Peter helped her out and taught her how to do it instead of taking it and doing it by themselves. Now, I also struggled with the screwdriver, so when Gloria and Mr. Hodge taught me how to do it, I was really happy to learn. Like, who knew screwdriving could be that difficult? Another God sighting was the last night of worship, Friday night, and we were all gathered around singing. Some of us were on stage, and we all put our arms around each other and sung our hearts out. Now, I knew God was with us that moment because just a couple days ago, we were all strangers to each other, and then the next thing, like, we're best friends, and we knew them from the start. But that was my week, and I just have to say, Audrey said I was her favorite. Bye!
Hey guys, it's Luke. This work camp trip was definitely quite an experience that I will never forget. There were so many different times when I saw God was at work, whether that was when we were on the work site to even when we were taking our shopping trip at Walmart. When we were at the work site, I could see so many teams and friendships throughout those 5 days. Some of them were when Mr. Hodge and Mr. Pritchard were teaching the girls how to screw some nails into the deck, and another was when a few of the boys were filling up a bucket of asphalt and then carried it up the hill to lay around the deck. And another great one at this site, which was my favorite, was when Mr. Pritchard taught Jen how to use the Sawzall, and she went to town with that thing, sawing all the posts off. But these were just the sightings I saw at the work site. Great ones I saw outside of the site was when we went on a Walmart trip to get some non-perishable goods for the organization Rebuild Frederick. Our youth group was able to purchase about 230 non-perishable goods. That was awesome God sighting, knowing that God had a plan to bless people all through Frederick throughout this organization. Another sighting I saw outside of the site was when we were in the night service, and when it was time to get up, sing, and dance, we were all doing it together. We were having an awesome time doing it too. Another great one was when me, Zach, Peter went out to the football field and played kickball with a bunch of kids from other churches, and we all talked, had a great time, had many, many laughs. This trip impacted me in many positive ways and gave me ways to grow closer to the people I worked with around me and with God as well.
I want to invite Jennifer Pritchard up. She's going to share a little bit of what she saw God doing on the work camp. And while the kids are talking, we're going to have pictures rolling from the work camp. They're not necessarily directly correlated to what's being spoken, but those will be up on the screen as well.
Hello. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Jennifer Pritchard. I'm going into 10th grade. This is my second work camp experience and my first official group work camp. While I had an idea of what a non-local work camp was like, as I had heard many stories, I didn't know what to expect. Saturday, 12 kids and 4 adults packed our two 12-passenger vans full of tools and duffel bags and coolers and snacks before taking pictures and praying. We loaded into the vans, Mr. Hodge and my dad driving with Jen and Mrs. Pulver in the passenger seats. I was riding in what was later dubbed the man van, and Mrs. Pulver and I were the only girls in the car. We arrived in Bedford and found about 7 churches within a head turn, making it very difficult to find the church we were staying at. We unpacked and met Vicar Ben, who unlocked the door for us and pointed us to the bathrooms. At this point, we discovered that 12 teenagers and 4 adults could fit in the elevators as we investigated the church. We walked into a grocery store where we met a man who was staying at the church across the street from us with his youth group going to another work camp, which was pretty cool. When we returned from the store, we were met with the arrival of Luke and Riley, which meant our group was complete. God was definitely showing this day as everyone was super excited and ready for the week. Sunday, at about 7:15, I was woken to a bag of Cocoa Puffs being thrown at my head. I found a spoon and put milk in the bag to enjoy before getting ready for church. At 8:15, our group poured into the sanctuary for worship. Us girls got lost in the service about every 5 minutes as we quickly discovered that this church was much more formal in just about every way possible. After church, we went back downstairs to repack and to get in the vans. We arrived at the school and met the MC for the week, Tommy. In about 30 minutes, Tommy could put all of our names to our faces, which was pretty awesome. As it turned out, we girls were sharing a room with girls who were from a church 40 miles south of where Stu Steggy grew up in Minnesota. At the end of the night, we got to open a package from Becca, Ava, and Josh full of candy. God definitely showed up by providing an amazing staff for the week. Monday, at the wonderful and joyous time of 6:45 in the morning, we were woken up to a song and got ready quickly before heading downstairs to breakfast and program. We then left for our residence house. All of the First Trinity group was kept together, so the people in charge thought that 18 people could build 2 ramps and 2 porches in 4.5 days, except they didn't realize that our residents still had to get out of the house, so we had half that time for each porch and ramp. Upon exiting the vans at the worksite, we realized that Maryland is quite hot and humid. We assessed what would need to be done, and then we started demoing. Lunch was something in between school food and real food all week, but it was food nonetheless. Some of the red shirt staff came to take pictures, so I looked at Jen and said, "We are going to take a selfie every day." We finished demo on the back porches right as it started to rain. God was definitely present and provided great conversations during devotionals. Tuesday, once again at the grand old time of 6:45 in the bright and early morning, we were woken up to another song. Today we were able to build the deck portion of the back porch and also began a week of digging through dirt and clay. After we finished, we did a Walmart run for the community gift. Girls versus boys, we raced to see who could get the most non-perishable food under $60. The girls won. In program, I was chosen to go up on stage to play a game that my team won. God definitely helped our group become more comfortable in the large group setting as both me and Zach were both willingly called up on stage. Wednesday, we woke up yet again at 6:45. I don't know how people do it willingly. Today was our half day and senior night. At noon, we headed back to the school to shower and get in our Hawaiian gear for pinball and a dinner out. The pinball arcade was great and dinner was hilarious. A brief overview of the night. Mrs. Pulver got 580 on skee ball and made it on the Wall of Fame. A bunch of boys ate over 10 pieces of pizza each. We got ice cream. We found a really pretty park and took a whole bunch of photos, and we saw Jane. We went to Walmart to get some finishing touches for our residence porches. Most importantly, we got real food that tasted good and had a server who joined in on our hijinks. God definitely provided us with a wonderful evening of fun that we will all remember. Thursday, we were once again woken up to a song at 6:45. After breakfast and program, we headed to the worksite and were able to finish the back porch. We started the front porch and got to talk with our resident, who was happy to be able to safely be outside. God definitely showed himself on Thursday as everyone pulled through to complete the back porch. Friday, we woke up one last time at 6:45, ready and rearing to go. Everyone worked extra hard today. No one wanted to leave the project incomplete. We worked through the heat and were lucky enough to finish pouring the concrete the second it started to rain. We worked through the rain and stayed for an extra hour. Everyone had some form of dirt on them, but we finished and our resident could not have been happier. She even said that she is going to go inside and cry. A thing at Workcamp is writing care cards. Care cards are really fun to get on Saturday, but not fun to have to write. They take the care card rack down at midnight on Friday, so at 11:50 that night I could be seen running in my pajamas and socks to the cafeteria to deposit my care cards. Saturday, we headed off to DC. A lot happened in DC, so we'll do an overview of the day. We got lost, but we didn't get stuck in the parking ramp. We rode the subway and no one got lost. We went to the zoo and I got an otter. We saw pandas in real life. We went to the mall, which is not a shopping building. We went to the Natural History Museum and I saw dinosaurs. My feet really hurt. We saw the Washington Monument and the Capitol building. We said goodbye to Luke and Riley. Our van got really quiet. We went to Chick-fil-A and said goodbye to Maddie and Andrew. We went swimming and slept in real beds in a hotel. God was so amazing the whole time and let us accomplish a bunch in such a little time with few crowds and very few mishaps. Sunday, Gloria woke me up at 7:15 to the hairbrush song. We had a better breakfast and then headed off for home. We walked into church and the first thing, Ben came running over to hug Jen. It was awesome. We finished up church and unpacked the vans and all said goodbye. God moved through everyone that week and we all have new memories and stories to share.
Thank you, Jennifer. We now invite Brian Lackey to come up and share his perspective on work camp.
Hello, everybody. My name is Brian, and this year, myself and 17 other students and adults had the pleasure of blessing our resident Audrey at Workcamp. For those of you who don't know, Workcamp is a great opportunity for our church's youth to go out into the world and actually be the hands of Jesus. Naturally, it features hard work, relationship building, and of course, drama. But it also serves a much higher purpose. You see, something very special happens when you rally a group of volunteers under the banner of the living God. God makes himself manifest in you. You find yourself capable of things you couldn't have done alone. You're presented with unique opportunities that foster new skills and talents, and you catch faint glimpses of God's masterwork in those around you. And you look in the mirror to see an unfamiliar but more joyful and complete version of yourself. All of this and more I saw in others too. I wish I could tell you just a fraction of the personal development I witnessed, personal development that would ordinarily take months, even years, to cultivate at one's own ambition. However, I don't wish to embarrass any of my fellow work campers, so I'll pass over the specifics. Now, I could tell you what we did and how we did it, but that's on the board. And also, but I also feel that alone misses the point of the testimony. It wasn't just what we did that mattered. God could have used any other means to provide for our resident, but he didn't. He chose us. He chose the riskier option, I would say. But with God, there is no risk. What is more remarkable is how he used our talents, lowly in comparison to a professional construction company as they are, no offense to Mr. Pritchard and Mr. Hodge, of course, to provide a manifold benefit to both parties. Sure, we were the ones who sacrificed in time and comfort for Audrey, but God gave us something in return as well. Make no mistake, it is not selfishness that motivates our work, but rather the work we do in good faith transforms us into the beings God meant us to be. No matter our skills, our opinions on Pastor Chuck's sermons, or even our feelings and say in actually being on a work camp trip, change the result. To me, growing closer to Christ through service is what work camp is all about. I would do it again, but I'm an adult now, so you could say they've finally gotten rid of me. Anyway, thank you for your time.
So now we have opportunity to hear from some of our young people who were on the work camp experience. So invite Zach Collins to come forward and share a little bit about work camp and what God was up to from his perspective.
Good morning. This year's work camp trip, we went to Frederick, Maryland, and I'll admit it was one of the best weeks I've ever had. I had never been on a work camp trip where we had to travel more than 30 minutes, so I had very high expectations. For years, I heard a lot about work camp from my older brothers and how it was an amazing experience. I've always loved volunteering, building things, and helping those in need. So I was really excited. Saturday night, when we stopped at Trinity Lutheran Church in Bedford, PA, we were a little quiet at dinner, but a very intense game of spoons made sure that didn't last very long. Sunday, when we worshiped with Trinity Lutheran Church, they were very welcoming, and it was cool to see the similarities and differences between our two churches. On Sunday, when we got to Tuscarora High School in Frederick, Maryland, we had 2 programs where they introduced us to our work camp crews and our crew roles. I chose to be a devotion leader, which means I led the crew devotions on the work site, and I reported my God sightings each day. In my crew, I had Mr. Hodge, Zelda, Jennifer, Matthew, and Peter. Our crew was very quiet at first, but as the week went along, we all opened up and began to talk about how God had nudged us into coming on the trip. We had a large task throughout the week. We needed to build 2 decks and ramps for our resident Audrey, who was an elderly woman on dialysis and couldn't walk very well. Tearing down the back deck involved a lot of crowbars and hammers. We had to push down or pry out all the screws and nails in every piece of wood. While some people were cutting wood for the deck and others putting the frame together or gardening, the rest of us dug holes for the posts, which each had to be 3 foot deep. All week we dug about 26 holes, and we had to redig half of them again. A few days in, a couple of the Red Shirt staff helped us. Their names were Brian and Doc. They were my God sightings that day. Both of them stayed after to finish what we couldn't on the back ramp, and they even helped tear down the front. I don't think we would have finished if they hadn't been there. One God sighting I had while there was Peter coaching and helping Jennifer screw in a large bolt that it just didn't want to go in straight on a post leg, and he just helped her. And sometimes that's all it takes for a God sighting. That's what Tommy, the program leader, said when he called me up to share that God sighting that day. All week, God helped us through people like the Red Shirts and the people here at First Trinity. The box of candy sent that was instantly devoured, and all the letters on Thursday that were so inspiring and helpful. Although we worked all week, that didn't stop us from being awake at night playing a 4-day-long Monopoly game. We also went to a pinball arcade with every type of game, where Mrs. Pulver is now on their skee-ball leaderboard. Dinner that night, we all got to watch Peter and Luke try to eat 25 slices of pizza. Most dinners seemed to be eventful, whether it was free ice cream cups for dessert or watching someone eat whipped cream out of their hand. On Friday, we got to the work site, and I remember Jim specifically saying repeatedly that we are not leaving until this ramp and deck are completely done. It was Friday, and everyone was exhausted, but they instantly began to do their jobs. We got more help from Red Shirts and a lot of rain, but we worked through it and finished, which showed us all that God was there helping and making sure that these decks would serve Audrey. Some people know that I'm a naturally loud person, so throughout the week we did a lot of singing and dancing to songs, such as the church clap and the Get Down song, which we did to get us moving, but I wanted to see the group really get into it, so I was constantly telling Matthew to bring up the enthusiasm. He delivered on Thursday by joining me in doing the church clap, and it was actually his idea. I felt a rush of pride, and the next day, almost everyone else from the group joined me and Matthew. I felt a little sad when we left the school because it meant our trip was almost over, and I had such a great time. But we enjoyed DC the best we could. I think everyone felt like the trip was winding down in DC. After visiting the zoo and the museums and walking around DC in intense heat, we had our final prayer with the Fabian family in the train station. We said our goodbyes. God acted through everyone and everything at Workcamp, and I believe he nudged me into going through the years of talk I'd heard from my brothers, and I think my biggest God sighting was that a group of teenagers and 4 adults completed work for someone else who truly deserves something good.
Now I want to invite up Gloria Hodge to share some of her God sightings and her experience at Workcamp with us.
Hey guys, my name is Gloria Hodge, and currently I am a senior in high school. This was my second real work camp experience, as I was able to attend a previous work camp in Rhode Island before the pandemic started. However, no work camp is ever alike, and being able to attend the work camp this year was an absolutely incredible experience. From working on our project to having fun days, we were able to bond and also learn and grow in our relationships with God. This year, we traveled to Frederick, Maryland, which is around a 6-hour drive from the church. Our roster included 12 kids and 4 adults, one being my father. We all loaded into 2 vans and were able to set off on our adventure by mid-morning of July 23rd. Apparently, the other van, which included Mr. Pritchard, his daughter, Mrs. Pulver, and basically most of the boys, were extremely rowdy and talked most of the way there. Our van, on the other hand, we slept the whole way there. Eventually, we arrived at our destination that night, which was a church in Bedford, Pennsylvania. It's actually quite funny because the church we stayed in is called Trinity Lutheran Church. The administration there was nice enough to allow us to camp out in their basement and sleep over. Also, during that time, Luke and Riley Fabian arrived to join our band of work campers. By the end of the night, it was clear that God was already beginning to work through our group because we were already energetic and excited to get to work in the next couple days. The next day, after attending the church's Sunday service, we packed up and headed off to Maryland. We arrived at the high school we were staying in a little early, so we were able to go to a nearby Subway for lunch. During that time, we were also able to shop at a nearby Dollar General and buy Christmas gifts. Christmas gifts are kind of like a Secret Santa type thing, where before our trip, each work camper, including adults, are assigned another member of the group. They are tasked to buy things for them for the entire week so that every single day they get something. However, the gift has to arrive to that person anonymously, so at the end of the week, we get together and guess who the Christkin is, so it's kind of like a challenge to figure it out during the week. Anyways, after our shopping and food, we went back to the school, and after check-in, hung around and met new people. For us girls, we found ourselves rooming with another group of girls from Minnesota. Later on, we actually discovered that they come from a place 40 miles south from where our beloved Sue Steggy grew up. The next few days, which included Monday through Friday, were our actual work days. Our assigned job was to demolish a front porch, a back porch, and also rebuild the 2 porches, both with wheelchair ramps. It was clear from the start that we had our work cut out for us. One of our God sightings that week was the fact that Mr. Pritchard and my dad, who are both extremely well-versed in construction work, were able to come with us and take charge and lead us through the project. Without them, it would have been extremely difficult and near impossible to finish in such a short amount of time. By Wednesday, we had built the back porch and were working on the wheelchair ramp. At that point, a bunch of the red shirts, who were members of the actual program run by the group mission trips, came and helped us so that we would finish on time. The next day, when we arrived at our site, they had finished the back wheelchair ramp and had already demolished the front porch. By then, we had 2 days to rebuild that porch and also build the wheelchair ramp. On Thursday, we made great progress, but it wasn't until Friday that we actually completed everything. That day, we were extremely fortunate to be blessed with heavy rain, so we found ourselves covered in mud, clay, and dirt. However, it was all worth it in the end because we were able to present our resident with a 100% finished project. Seeing our resident nearly in tears opened our eyes and made us realize that, using the words of Doc, who is one of the red shirts, this is why we do what we do. God was looking out for us that week and nudged us along in the right directions so that we were able to finish on time and give us the ability to bless someone in need. Besides being able to finish our project on time, we were blessed with the opportunity to have a senior night for our high school graduates and also tour Washington, D.C. on Saturday. On Wednesday of that week, our work day ended early at 12 p.m., so we used that extra time to go to a pinball arcade and then eat at a restaurant later that night. The arcade was actually pretty cool, and personally, I learned how to play pinball for the first time ever. The restaurant was also really nice, and the boys took it upon themselves to buy 5 pizzas, which amounted to around 40 slices. Some of them ate around 10 to 12 pieces that night. We were certain they would throw up. They certainly looked like they were going to, but thankfully that never happened. After eating, we were able to walk through a park and watch the sun go down. Once again, I was reminded of God through the beauty of the sunset and the nature around us. That evening was beautiful, and we all had a blast. Saturday was the day that we traveled to Washington, D.C. It turns out that Washington, D.C. traffic can be extremely confusing. We had 3 choices to figure out how to get onto the parking ramp. First, we picked the 2 wrong choices, only to find out that while the third option got us onto the parking ramp, the section was made for vehicles under 7 feet. Our vehicle was most definitely not under 7 feet. Thankfully, in the end, we were able to find our parking spot without further incident. The rest of the day, we were able to tour the Smithsonian National Zoo, where we saw some pretty cool pandas, stop at Starbucks to get Mr. Pritchard's daily ritual of coffee, it's the most important part, walk through the National Mall, and tour the Smithsonian Natural History Museum. By the end, we were exhausted, most of our feet were killing us, so we were excited to arrive at our hotel and sleep on actual beds. Some of us took a quick swim at the pool that the hotel had, but most of us were too tired to even consider the possibility of a swim. The next morning, bright and early as usual, we left for home. I can attest that the whole way there, our entire van was extremely quiet and most of us were napping. I slept the whole 3 hours. We arrived home just in time to attend the 11:15 service, and then we said our sad goodbyes. In the end, God watched out for us and kept us safe throughout the entire week between handling sharp equipment and touring an extremely busy city. It was truly an amazing experience, and I am looking forward to doing it again next year. And quickly before I end, I just wanted to give a quick shout out to our youth group leader, Jen Florio, for not only being willing enough to organize this trip, but also to spend an entire week with us in a completely different state. We're all so thankful for you and are grateful for the sacrifices that you've made for us. I am sure I can speak for the entire youth group when I say that we love you so much and we can't wait to see what's in store for the group in the future. Thank you.